Essentially, what happened was there was an election boycott. I mean, the official statistics suggest just about 41% or so turnout. Um, Most analysts like myself who watch Iran would say it's probably lower, but it's not zero. Clearly, the Islamic regime has ways to bring people out, from teachers to students to members of the armed forces, who essentially have no choice, have to come out. On top of that, you do have a base of support for the regime. Who knows what that base is in terms of percentage of the population? Is probably around the 15 to 20% of the country's population still might support the regime. So there was turnout, but that's just one side of the story. The real story here is this is the lowest turnout since the Islamic Republic was created back in 1979. And that's the story. And what you basically have here is the trajectory that nobody can deny. And what is that trajectory? It's every time in recent years you've had elections in the Islamic Republic, the numbers are dropping. The numbers are dropping. And now we've come to a point where, as I said, historic low, the lowest in 45 years. And the reason for that is very straightforward. People have given up on the idea that this Islamist political system can be changed through the ballot box. That essentially the leadership, particularly Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, doesn't care about the people's wishes. He has his own agenda. He uses elections really just as a show to tell everybody around the world that he's not a dictator. But the Iranian public opinion, the way they've boycotted these elections, tell you that's not how they see things. The reformist camp in Iran really had opportunities over the course of the last 2, 3 decades to come out and use the massive amounts of support they got in elections in, say, 97 that led to Khatami's election as president, or even the Majlis parliamentary elections of year 2000, when they were allowed to run. And they always won when they were allowed to run. Remember, in Iran, elections are hugely controlled. It's not that anybody can run. You have to be approved by essentially the supreme leaders in a circle to be able to run. But there was a time where reformers could run, and they ran, and they always won. But when they were in office, they never really had the courage, the political courage, to stand up to uh, the office of the supreme leader, again, Ali Khamenei or the Revolutionary Guards. And for that reason, over the last few years, you've seen the people of Iran essentially given up on the reform movement as a vehicle for change. They consider the reformists as folks that might mean well, but essentially are, for whatever reason, incapable of bringing about change. So why waste your time voting for a reform candidate who, even if they're allowed to run once in office, have not proven it again and again that they're not able to bring about change? I think that is, in many ways, the biggest story from this election. How the youth in Iran, the younger demographic, how they are entirely disillusioned. There's no hope. I mean, just look at the data in terms of what people are saying to surveys. Surveys that we, for example, with Stasis Consulting, recently ran on our pages at the Middle East Institute. The survey speaks for itself. There's this level of lack of hope in the future. Now, some people decide that for them means that they pack up their bags, they emigrate. Others decide to stay back, but obviously they don't think the ballot box is the way forward. So, I'm assuming they're trying to do is, what can they then do as an alternative? Are they going to come back out in the streets, as we have seen more and more Iranians do, particularly the young, to protest? That could be that could be the path forward in terms of the political evolution of the Islamic Republic. That we should anticipate more political violence, because if the ballot box is not the way forward to bring about change, then what alternative do you have? As I said, you have one, immigration, and millions of Iranians have left the country, but not everybody can leave the country, and those who cannot leave the country, they are probably, I'm guessing here at this point, but I'm assuming that more and more people will look at political violence as really the only way to make the leadership understand that enough is enough.